Join us on Patreon and become part of our journey to uncover history's untold stories. Your support helps us create in-depth content, bring hidden narratives to life, and keep history alive for everyone.
There is a quiet corner of Africa where time flows differently. Here, beneath the highlands of Ethiopia, and in the heart of one of the world's oldest Christian civilizations, sacred scrolls wrapped in leather and buried in stone churches whisper secrets the Western world has either forgotten or chosen to ignore. Every so often, one of these whispers breaks through the noise, challenging centuries of theological certainty and sparking a digital firestorm. One such revelation claims that Lucifer, long portrayed as the ultimate spiritual villain, a fallen angel who defied the throne of God, is not who we've been told he is. According to some ancient Ethiopian scriptures, Lucifer may not have been an angel at all. Instead, he may have been something even more dangerous, a human king. The concept seems blasphemous to many and revolutionary to others. Yet in the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, which preserves some of the oldest biblical traditions in existence, it's not unusual to encounter theological ideas that diverge sharply from the canon held by Catholicism or modern Protestantism. Ethiopia's sacred texts, written in the ancient language of Guizi, often present a very different spiritual landscape, one in which angels walk among men, fallen beings are more political than mystical, and Lucifer isn't merely a symbol of prideful rebellion, but a historical ruler who tried to elevate himself above God. This idea finds its roots not in modern conspiracy, but in books that were removed or never included in the Western Bible. Texts like the Book of Enoch, the Book of Jubilees, the Book of the Mysteries of Heaven and Earth, and fragments of writings preserved only in Ethiopian monasteries. These scriptures, some dating back over 2,000 years, describe a cosmology in which celestial and earthly hierarchies mirror each other. They speak of kings who were so powerful and arrogant, they were mistaken or mistook themselves for gods. Among these kings was one whose pride reached a height that dwarfed all others. His name, according to certain interpretations of Ethiopian sacred lore, was not just metaphorical, it was Lucifer. The Western understanding of Lucifer largely stems from Isaiah 14 verse 12, where the Latin Vulgate translation introduces the name Lucifer, a Latin word meaning light-bringer or morning star. The passage reads, "How you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning." For centuries, theologians have interpreted this verse as referring to Satan's fall from heaven. But a closer inspection of the context reveals something striking. The verse isn't speaking about a spiritual being at all. It is, in fact, a taunt against a Babylonian king, most likely Nebuchadnezzar or Tiglath-Pileser, who elevated himself to godlike status. In this reading, Lucifer is a title, not a name. He is a symbol of imperial arrogance, a man trying to take the throne of heaven. Now consider this in light of Ethiopia's ancient Christian worldview, which never fully adopted the Roman or Greek influence that shaped much of Western Christianity. To Ethiopian scribes, kings were not just political figures. They were spiritual entities whose rise or fall could shake the heavens. This belief is deeply tied to the Solomonic lineage, which claims direct descent from King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, a belief still honored by Ethiopian royalty into the 20th century. In this worldview, the idea that a king could fall so far as to become the embodiment of evil was not only plausible, it was precedent. Certain Guizi manuscripts go further. They describe a figure called Halil ben Shahar, translated similarly to morning star, not as an angel cast out of heaven, but as a human ruler who committed the unforgivable sin of attempting to declare himself divine. This echoes the tower building of Nimrod, the imperial overreach of Pharaoh, and the blasphemies of Roman emperors. The Ethiopian text Kebra Nagast, for instance, describes a long war between light and darkness, not purely in spiritual terms, but through earthly rulers who embodied cosmic forces. In this light, Lucifer becomes a title worn by tyrants who overstep their divine boundaries. He is Babylon. He is Egypt. He is Rome. He is any king who sought to make his throne above the stars of God. In this way, the Guizi scriptures reclaim the term from spiritual abstraction and return it to human history. The internet, upon glimpsing these interpretations, did what it always does with forbidden knowledge. It turned it into wildfire. Scholars and theologians debated fiercely in online forums, while content creators flooded platforms with videos asking whether everything we knew about Satan was wrong. Ethiopian priests, largely silent and often misunderstood by the outside world, watched this with the quiet wisdom of those who have been saying the same thing for generations. To them, these revelations weren't new. They were old truths finally surfacing in a world ready to listen. What makes the Ethiopian take on Lucifer so controversial is that it pulls theology out of the clouds and places it firmly back into the soil of politics and history. By interpreting Lucifer as a man, possibly a real king, maybe even a specific Babylonian ruler, it removes the mystical fog and asks more uncomfortable questions. Was evil always spiritual, or has it always worn a crown? Were the greatest evils in history not committed by horned demons, but by emperors and politicians who declare themselves gods? This interpretation also challenges centuries of Western Christian dogma built upon the idea of Satan as a rebellious angel. In the Book of Revelation, Satan is depicted as a dragon, a deceiver, a spiritual force, but if Ethiopian texts are to be taken seriously, then Satan may have had many incarnations throughout time, and the most dangerous of them may not have been supernatural at all. They may have been kings, presidents, or even religious leaders. One of the more provocative Ethiopian texts, the Book of the Mysteries of Heaven and Earth, preserved in some remote monasteries, tells of rulers whose fall mirrored cosmic rebellion. In it, divine beings warn the people not to trust kings who claim divine right without divine wisdom. These rulers rise quickly, claiming to be sons of the morning, only to bring ruin to their people and themselves. The implication is clear. Lucifer is a pattern, not a person. He is a human story that repeats throughout history. This interpretation also dovetails with Gnostic traditions that predate Christianity, where the idea of cosmic rebellion is not always evil, but sometimes an allegory for awakening, pride, or enlightenment. But Ethiopia's version is more cautionary than liberating. In their scriptures, pride is not freedom. It's a disease that consumes kings, bringing death and devastation to entire civilizations. The weight of this truth, of a human Lucifer, strikes differently in a world where history is often sanitized. Ethiopia's scriptures don't offer easy answers. They offer warnings, preserved by monks who saw empire after empire rise and fall. They offer a mirror to the past that reflects the faces of tyrants in every generation. And perhaps that's the true reason these texts remain so hidden, so mysterious, so dangerous. They don't just question the identity of Satan, they question the very foundations of power. And so the question remains not just for theologians but for every student of history. If Lucifer was a man, then who else might he have been? And more chillingly, who is wearing his crown now?